1-2, swinging a drive toward right center. Back goes Robert. Back near the stands. That ball is gone. A game-winning home run for Chris Morel. Can you believe it? Listen to this crowd.
Welcome back to the Brotherly Cubs podcast. I am your little brother Zach, and that's my big brother John. We're your brothers who love everything about Chicago baseball. If you enjoy Cubs baseball, the baseball club that is Chicago Cubs, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and holler at your boys every week as we dive into the most incredibly patient and not boring team in all Major League Baseball.
We like to start off each podcast with a playful question for all 130 of our subscribers. Zach, we gained one person. I don't know if you saw that, but shout out to whoever that was. Zach, today I ask you, what did you think of the Super Bowl last night?
I did not watch it. No, I'm just kidding. It was good in that the team I wanted to win won. So I rooted for the Eagles. And halftime was good. Commercials were complex, and no one knew what was being advertised. I thought, What did you think of the Super Bowl?
I thought it was okay. I wanted a better game, but I'm glad the Eagles won, and we don't have to put up with hearing about the Chiefs again and the refs. I mean, just everything has been so bad around just, I think, refs in general, right? Like baseball, there's that umpire that was recently, is like Pat, I don't know what his last name was, but Pat Hoiberg or something. No, that's a basketball player.
Could have been.
Yeah. No, it's something Pat. He was, I guess, I think he even called like a perfect game as far as like the umpiring and called strikes and balls and things like that. But he was actually found to have been like betting, or him and a friend were betting on something on a certain amount of games. And then there was just NBA refs, Tim Donaghy in the early 2000s with the Lakers and betting with the Lakers, or for the, I don't know, I guess for the Lakers. And then of course now we have the Chiefs. So they have been getting some help, I think. There was a call that first was a pass interference call. I thought was a pretty good call, even though the announcers thought it was kind of a bad call, that they should just let it go. But whenever you put a hand to the face, and you're a wide receiver or you're a DB, it's like you have to call that. And that I think was actually in favor of, I think, Philadelphia anyways. But
agreed that definitely the Chiefs have had the refs on their side for a while, and it was a bad game for the Chiefs.
I would say probably Patrick Mahomes' worst game. I think
ever.
So like you said, as far as the commercials, they were a little confusing, and I think sometimes they like try too hard. It just doesn't come off as
they always do at the Super Bowl. It feels like they try so hard, and commercials used to be pretty good, and there always are like a few that are funny, but these days it feels like they're less funny and more just like shock value. Like, how can you get attention?
Right. The commercial with the Doritos and pulling the guy through the house or whatever. I don't know if you saw that one.
I think, there's so many.
Mom and I were watching it, and we're just like kind of looking at each other like, what are we watching right now? Like, it's just the halftime show. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was thought provoking,
very political.
Very political. Serena Williams was crip walking and sea walking, and so I thought, of course, everybody was worried, or not worried. They were wondering if Kendrick Lamar was gonna sing "Not Like Us."
And had to.
He had to, of course. Like, what'd you expect? So
so
I thought it was interesting. I just blowouts are never great for the game, but I thought the better team won. Eagles just had an insane defensive line.
Defense, for sure. Crazy defense.
All right, moving on to our team, the Chicago Cubs Baseball Club. Javier Assad recently, we just started spring training, a couple days ago, or yesterday rather. And Javier Assad has already come up gimpy with an injury. They think it might be his oblique. Tommy Hadavi seems to think otherwise. Zach, I'm asking you, are you rooting for Assad being out an extended period of time?
No. Why do you put this in here? And what is with all the negativity and the hate?
So, finishing my question. So, Cade Horton could get a stronger chance at making this team, at least to start with. So you get an extended look, because I feel like, do you feel like they would even give him a shot as far as the big league club? If Javier Assad was healthy.
Cade Horton is not on the 40-man roster, I don't think. I think they. Sorry, I'm just going to make it so my headphones don't look like they're coming, down the side of my neck. Cade Horton, I think he was so injured last year that I think he needs time to get into a groove at AAA. Not that he's a bad pitcher, or I think he pitched poorly. I mean, he pitched bad because he was injured. I think they want to see him dominate, like at AAA, and let him get into a groove, get that changeup going, like get righties and lefties out, get the fastball up to 94, 95. I think everything we've heard says that he is healthy, but let's let him prove he's healthy, and then give him like a month at least at Iowa. And then if there's an opportunity, or the bullpen, if the bullpen starts imploding, you could use that as an opportunity to bring him up. I mean, if this team is locked down winning, 100 games, then they're going to take some time to get him up. But if they do what they did last year and start to really blow a lot of games, or rather don't have the depth that they feel like they have, swing and miss, that kind of thing, I think they'll bring him up sooner. But I don't think he'll make the team right off the bat. And the reason being is there's just so many players, especially without options, and so few roster spots right now with this team. So I think they came into the season assuming he would not be making the club, right? So at least that's what I've gathered so far. I think they have confidence in him. And I do think Assad being out, like if he was out, that gives Horton a chance early on to at least get more reps in spring training. But I don't think they're banking on Horton to make the team right out of camp.
Yeah, I agree. I just thought that was maybe, just if you get a longer look at somebody. But I see what you're saying, as far as kind of, stashing him at AAA and seeing what he can do from there, and building up his arm, and his arm strength. Also, there was an injury to Brandon Birdsell. They're thinking back of shoulder, looks like. Back shoulder, lateral.
Yeah, that could be more concerning if it's attached to the shoulder than like an oblique. And, those two guys being out is, this happen every year. So you hope you're not going to get these to like the rotation players in the lineup as well. Almost lucky for the Cubs so far that it's not one of their 5 or 6 best pitchers. I think this gives, if anyone gets an opportunity, it's Ben Brown. I think if Assad misses the start of the season, even if it's the 18th at Tokyo Series, I think Ben Brown, you can circle him as a guy who could put into the back of the rotation, or at least he and Colin Ray will get to compete for that 5th starter spot / swingman role. So, yeah, the Cubs have tremendous depth. So this is really not a big deal yet until these start to materialize into bigger injuries or more players go down. They are built for depth. That's the one thing they did this offseason, is gather depth rather than get like star players in the pitching side, at least.
Yeah, I agree. And that's, like you said, good thing they have the depth, and it's not one of the the top 5 arms, like a Matthew Boyd or something like that, or Ben Brown. To me, I'd be more affected by it if it was Ben Brown, I think so.
Yeah, for sure.
If anything, maybe it might affect like a trade chip, as far as like if you were to include Javier Assad into a deal.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah.
Moving on, we want to talk a little bit about third base, Zach. So obviously, Alex Bregman is still unsigned. Justin Turner has come across as a backup option. I was reading on Twitter. What are your thoughts on, first of all, this whole Bregman situation? When do you think it's going to get resolved, and what are your thoughts on Justin Turner possibly filling in?
I am at this moment Googling. This is a nice search engine called Google.com. It got released in 2021. No, but
Go on.
It's pretty nice. I'm on Fangraphs. I'm looking up when the last time Turner played third base. I do like they're going after him. I am sort of surprised this is kind of coming up. And I don't know if it means they're pivoting or it's a leverage thing, but in terms of now, if Turner could play third base, this would be awesome. But if anything, they should make this move anyways because Turner plays first, and they do need a righty to back up Michael Busch at first. So I would like this because maybe it pushes like Vidal Brujan off the roster if this happens. That might happen anyways if they sign Bregman. But Turner, I mean, as a backup, even just looking at his last year, looking at some of his metrics, 11 homers, 55 RBIs, nothing to really be ecstatic about. Like still a 730 something OPS at age, 40 is pretty impressive. That, and then the other end of it is that he's age 40. What do you think about it?
I think he's interesting. Obviously, he's come off his Dodger days. I think he had a solid off season, a solid last season with Seattle. And I think he brings a lot of just veteran leadership, if anything. I wouldn't mind it. I mean, and if he does need to spell somebody over at third base, if there's an injury, he can move over there for a few games. And so, like you said, it's a good backup to Michael Busch as far as like a righty in the lineup at first base. It's a good point. Didn't even think about that, honestly. I think it's just because he's been touted as like a backup to third base if we don't get Bregman. Or just kind of like seemingly competition for Matt Shaw. Which in that case, we would obviously, I would think, hope that Matt Shaw would take over that, win that job. Having Justin Turner as a bench bat to me is incredible. It's got to be one of the better, if he's a bench piece, one of the better options out there. So,
yeah, for sure. That's why I like it, is because as a bench piece, he is among your better options. They don't have a first baseman. That's what Cubs podcasts have been asking for, is a first baseman to back up Busch. Right.
Yeah, and that would be, that'd be ideal, I think. So we'll see. I'm just kind of reading reports just while we're talking on Newsweek. They're not even mentioning the Cubs. They're mentioning Red Sox or Tigers. So I just kind of find that interesting. I mean, there's different news media outlets that kind of report different things. So it's just, the Buster Olney, I think, reported Red Sox, Cubs, Tigers soon, whenever that is.
Yeah. And Ken Rosenthal reported, and he hasn't been doing much reporting. He seems to be out of the loop on some of these, although everyone's been out of the loop on Bregman. But Rosenthal thinks that he will sign by this week, basically, because pitchers and catchers report for other teams, and then also squad workouts are in about a week everywhere. So full squad workout, it sounds like he wants to be available for that, which is in 1 week. So look for him to sign this week, I'm guessing. But, for reference, Bellinger signed when he was with the Cubs, 2 weeks from this time. So
yeah, exactly. I think it was like 26 or 27, something like that. It was like 5 games in, I think, to spring training. So, it's like you said, we've seen players sign later. I don't know if that really affected him as far as like getting off to a strong start or having the season that he wanted to have as far as Bellinger. I'm sure it affected him somewhat, but because guys are reporting right now, right? I mean, positional players. I mean, not everybody, but they're showing up. Some are showing up early.
some younger guys have been there, like the guys with the work ethic that are sort of trying to make impressions have been there for, a week or so, or some longer. Setup man, Kyle Stanley, his podcast and his broadcast. He's been there at Mesa, so is Rich Biesterfeld. They've been showing a few younger players like Matt Shaw, PCA, Ballesteros. So yeah, there's I think you see guys trickle in. A handful of guys are there already, and then obviously this week for the Cubs, it's only a few days away. I think is full squad, so you're going to get everyone there in a few days, and
Right.
games start on the 20th. So it's coming up pretty fast. And yeah, if you're Bregman, you'd like to get into some of those games. I don't think Bellinger had a crazy slow start, but he had a bad, he had a down year.
Yeah.
And so did Snell, and so did Montgomery, in terms of guys who signed late into spring training, missing a lot of spring training. So
yeah. I also have kind of a question here for you, Zach. If he does sign, this is kind of not really it's like a half serious question, but do you think that would affect chemistry as far as, like if, for example, it's like kind of like one of those cafeteria lunch groups at school when you have your own clique. Do you feel like he would just kind of hang out with more of the Astros guys? Because there's already going to be, two? We signed Presley and Tucker, or we traded for Tucker. Do you feel like that would affect chemistry as far as like with maybe Tucker getting more acclimated, more close with the other guys on the team?
I mean, I think it would be good for Bregman and Tucker to play together again, and Presley. I think comfortability is a big thing. Sometimes you see players sign with a former manager. Presley had, I guess he at some point spent time with Tommy Hotovy. I don't know if this was with the Twins early in his career, but that does help. So, I think comfortability is a big thing with sports. I think we sort of discount that as regular old average Joes that don't play professional sports. But I don't think it would make them bond less with the team. I think I personally want Bregman because, one, he's a good hitter and he's going to solidify the floor at third base and help the lineup tremendously. But then two, if that helps Kyle Tucker get extended, if Bregman sign on for at least a few years,
right,
guaranteed or something like that, and Tucker knows those 3 years will be with Bregman, and that helps him get extended, why would you not do that?
Yeah, I agree.
So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know about the lunch table thing. I mean, they'll be three guys at a table.
Yeah.
I don't know who's aligned with them. I mean, Presley's probably going to be hanging out with other bullpen guys.
Sure.
Tucker is going to be hanging out with Ian Happ because he's a cool dude. Bregman with Horner, Swanson, they're cool dudes.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah.
Yeah, just kind of a, tongue-in-cheek type of question, but
sure.
Also, just kind of like wrapping up Bregman, do you think this contract situation looks worse on Bregman or Boris? As far as like letting it go this far?
Well, I'll ask you this. Is Alonso a Boris client?
Yes, right?
I think he is. So I would go ahead and say this looks bad on Boris because he had Pete Alonso take $100 million less guaranteed. And now Bregman, well, I guess we don't know what Bregman's going to get, so it's still TBD. But he has a 6-year, $160 million deal on the table. So, and Boris, I don't know if Boris is the one who's like, don't take it. But certainly it looks bad for Boris to have back-to-back seasons of sort of slower movement, like into spring training. I mean, I think that looks bad. Seeing as Bregman's the last domino, at least he doesn't have multiple players, like 3 players going into spring. Like, would he have Bellinger, Snell, and Montgomery all at the same time? So at least it's just Bregman for Boris to have one client, major client going in. But at the same time, I mean, I do think like the players need to take responsibility if they suck. So, like, I'm just saying, if you sign a deal late in the off season and
Yeah.
you're not ready, and you come the
Yeah.
spring or whatever, and you're slow, especially for pitchers, really,
Yeah.
they should take some responsibility for not being ready.
I agree. I mean, wholeheartedly, I think Alex Bregman should be doing some kind of work, and I'm sure he is on the side.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's almost no way that a professional athlete would do that, especially if it trailed into like March, let's say, because you don't want to be behind the eight ball. Like if Bregman, for some reason or another, he didn't sign until like March, and he wasn't doing anything, condition or whatever. I think that'd be that'd be pretty bad on him. So yeah, he's probably doing some kind of work, I'm sure. Do you think more free agents would be inclined to drop Boris, in light of what's happened the last couple seasons, like you said, with Montgomery? And
I think that's going to be the trend. I mean, I don't think he's going to be looked at as ace of an agent as he used to be.
Right.
So, and especially if he's losing like his clients a lot of money too at the same time. Like the owners are consolidating their efforts and figuring out like not to deal with Boris a certain way, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, so I looked it up. Boris is he's the agent for Alonso. So
yeah, Alonso took a terrible deal.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, like you said, I mean, he lost money there that he had, way more money with the Mets. Pete Alonso. Bregman also, of course, lost. I think he had a 5-year or 6-year contract in hand by the Astros and declined it, I believe.
I guess he doesn't want to go back to Houston. I mean, honestly.
That's what I'm hearing. I read another report that it's definitely not Houston. It's mainly Red Sox. Well, we mentioned this: Red Sox, Tigers, Cubs.
Yeah.
Most likely, if I were to guess, I'd probably say Red Sox. It's probably going to be the Red Sox.
Yeah,
I don't think he wants to go to Detroit, like people are saying.
Right.
So it's probably going to be Detroit, or not Detroit, Boston. But just to throw everyone for a loop,
it's going to be Toronto.
It's going to be Toronto. Yeah. It's going to be Tampa. So I just think it's interesting that, like, I don't know, it's gone on this long. I would think you would know where you want to be, right? I mean, now it's like some people are on Twitter just lashing out emotionally. I don't even want him anymore. I don't want they don't even care now. They just want him to just make a decision so they can move on mentally. And I agree. I think it's just time. Like you said, hopefully it's this week, but we'll see.
I hope that, unfortunately, with the Cubs sign Bregman, they're, I think, if you look at the CBT, like the luxury tax payroll, I think they're at like 209 or 211. If you add what Bregman's going to get, close to 30 million, it put them right at the edge of the CBT first threshold for the tax. So I don't know if the Cubs will be able to stomach that, or if they'll have to trade someone. Rising social media star Jacob Zanola of Cubs Insider has threw out a trade such as trade Nico for like Clark Schmidt of the Yankees. 2.8 something ERA last year, I think at number 2, number 3 in their rotation, their very good rotation. So I would like that. I guess the thing is, if the Cubs end up with Bregman, they're going to probably trade Warner, or they're going to have to cut payroll somehow. Mm-hmm. So you have to be okay with like Shaw at second and Bregman at third. And then what can you get for Warner? So, and if it's a starter, then you're going to have to literally DFA like somebody like that's really good on this team. I don't even know if they are going to go that direction. They've already added so much depth, and there's so many guys that are unoptionable.
Yeah. For me, I feel like if you're going to trade Horner, you probably have to package him and then get an ace. I feel like just getting another 3. What would Schmidt really, top out as a SP3? I mean,
he has a couple really good seasons in the tank. It's one of those things where if one of Steele or Managa gets injured, at least it keeps the floor of the team decent. An ace would obviously be much better, but like, are there aces available that would save you money? I guess. Like, think about it like this.
Well, from the Mariners, yeah, but I mean,
Okay, like
you'd have to
trade.
give up significant draft capital, which I know
Yeah,
they probably don't want to do. At least right now, I think they would be waiting for maybe the All-Star break to really look at, dive into this team and see, okay, what is our really how good is this team?
yeah. I mean, that's certainly an
So
option. If they get Bregman, I actually do think it's possible that the Cubs go for a
like a
wait and
Logan
see.
Gilbert
Well,
or George
obviously,
Kirby or something like that,
obviously they're going to go for the best pitcher, but like
right?
it's not available right now. So I think what could happen is if they get to the trade deadline and they're at the CBT level, the tax, and Horner is playing at a similar level as Shaw. Like Shaw is basically taking the reins,
Mm.
and they feel like they could trade Horner and replace him easily. Then I think they'll make a move to dump salary, uh, and it might be an all-in move, especially if they're now the other end to it is they could trade Horner. Um, they could do multiple things to cut payroll at the trade deadline if they needed to, or they could stand pat and be like, we like our offense the way it is, and let's just hit the tax again this year. Uh, if they decide to do that, they could make that decision knowing that they're being competing in July versus uh, you don't want to go over the tax and be a bad team. So they're going to have to make that decision at some point. At this point, I'd be surprised if they don't. They probably will be under the tax, is what everyone keeps saying.
Yeah, I mean, I have a good feeling they will. Um, what are your thoughts? This has kind of been tossed around a little bit. I think Locked On touched on it a little bit. About a deadline for free agency, as far as like players have until February 14th to sign players, or
I mean, I would love that.
yeah,
The offseason really drags on. No other of the three major sports does it like baseball.
right,
And it's incredibly boring to have like reports all the time and then nothing materializes, especially the Cubs like trading for guys and it's like, oh, they're close. And Bruce Levine is always just so out of the loop. Like,
yes, yeah,
no offense to him, but like he has no sources. Is it or
no,
the sources are throwing smoke screens at him left and right?
yeah, and then as a teacher, I just kind of look at his tweets and I'm like,
Yeah, they're
what are you?
poorly constructed.
I'm like, dude, look at your tweets, dude. And I mean, Boob Nightingale is obviously he said some stuff too. But yeah, Brucey Bruce. He's one of a kind. I don't know what else you can really say about Bruce, but
Well, people always take what he says at face value, and then nothing happens after what he
yeah,
says.
I agree.
So, oh, the Cubs are being creative about Bregman. And it's like, great, but
What does that even mean?
yeah, what does that mean? Are they creatively trying to sign him? Are they trying? And the thought process is, Bregman's a 4-WAR player, Horner's a 4-WAR player, but he's much more valuable. But the difference is Bregman is a power hitter.
Right.
And he's going to hit home runs, and he could give you a 2-run homer in the 7th inning, down 3-4.
Yeah,
Horner is
doubles.
not going to give you very many 2-run homers this year at all, if any. He might hit 1 2-run homer.
I'm gonna go with 2.
Yeah, I'm just saying, or he
Yeah.
might hit some home runs if the game is blown out. He's only going to hit you 10.
Yeah.
So Horner is a great defender. I think the Cubs could find a way to supplement what Horner gives them with Matt Shaw and sort of James Triantos, like a speedy infielder. James Triantos is a contact bat. If the Cubs aren't going to make any trades, then they could surely start to use some of these guys, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Start to use them. Maybe put Casey. Another podcast mentioned putting Casey at first, get him some reps in spring training or in AAA, get him the reps. And that way, if Bush goes down, you have a really solid hitter at first.
Yeah.
And Turner as a backup again. Good opportunity for the Cubs to punt on Vidal Brujan, who is a terrible hitter.
I will never understand that trade, but
no, I mean it's just a dump trade. But yeah, it's not. You could just DFA him for nothing, and it's fine. That's what it's going to turn out to be. So
I feel like Matt Mervis screwed somebody over in fantasy football or something like that, and they're like, trade him or something.
To the Marlins.
To the Marlins. I think that's just about it for us. Zach, we are 2 weeks away from spring training. Brotherly Cubs will be gracing Mesa, Arizona, and Scottsdale.
Very excited.
Super excited. I've never been.
It's awesome.
Do you want to say anything real quick about your experience about spring training last year?
I met Cody Del Mendo of CHGO last year in the right field berm, and I think the opening game of spring against the Sox. And I also met Rich Biesterfeld as well. So that was awesome. I'm hoping to meet up with Kyle from Setup Man, but I don't know if he's going to be there. I think he's leaving earlier. I don't know if he's going to catch any games while he's there, but he is doing a lot of really good coverage. He and Rich have got really good spring training coverage. Check that out on X/Twitter, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But yes, had a great time, and we were catching the Padres game.
No, the Giants and Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks. Okay, so Diamondbacks at Mesa.
Diamondbacks first, yeah.
And
Giants on Wednesday.
Scottsdale. So just around the corner from Mesa. Very excited. Love being with the Cubs community. Come say hi to us. Let's hang out. We're going to be in one of the outfield areas for sure for one of those games. So hang out with us. Super excited to be back at spring training. Arizona's nice. Weather's great, and it's awesome to catch some Cubs baseball and see some prospects and just get some great coverage for you guys. I'm sure we'll do a pod while we're there.
Yeah, live. We'll be live. No.
Yeah.
No, I think we're so just to clarify, we are left field for the Giants game.
Okay.
And then we are third baseline, down the third baseline by I think the Cubs dugout. For that oh no, sorry. We are for the Diamondbacks, we are left field. And then we will be third base for the Giants. That's what is that, 26th?
Yeah.
26 and 20, or no, 25th and 26, something like that.
We can always walk around and say hi to people if anyone's there.
Yeah, for sure.
Traveling, that would be awesome. If you live in Arizona and you're a Cubs fan, let's hang out.
Go Cubs. We travel well. Like I saw in that Rangers game on Saturday right after opening day. Man, that was insane.
Yeah, a lot of Cubs fans.
And at the Texas Rangers ballpark. What is that? Globe Life?
Yes.
Yeah, we met Crawley. Shout out to Crawley.
Yeah, we did meet him as well.
That was super, super dope.
Just randomly sat right where we were sitting.
It's like, what, 4? I think it was like 4 rows behind us. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's always a good time. I'm really excited. Even though it's spring training, it's still, to all of us Cub fans, I mean, it all matters. We want to see, some progression with our team. And
yeah,
and we can't wait. Can't wait to see you guys out there. And that basically does it for us here at Brotherly Cubs. That's all we have time for today. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, or join the conversation with us on Twitter at Brotherly Cubs or Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm your big brother, John, and that's my little brother, Zach. And we will see you next week. Until next time, thanks for tuning into the pod, and we will catch you later. Peace.
Listen to this crowd.